Salut et bienvenue sur ma chaîne. Si ça c'est la première fois que tu es ici, je m'appelle Lei et aujourd'hui je vais vous partager comment j'ai appris le français moi-même. Donc, first of all, this is not a bragging video. I'm not here like, oh hey guys, look at me, how great I am, I learned French myself, ni, na. Actually, I'm still learning because I found French is one of those languages you just gotta keep learning because there's so many beautiful and more poetic way to describe one simple thing, which j'adore. As I said in my last video, I'm gonna share my study experience with you because this part of settling down is so far the most difficult part, and this difficulty is still happening to me every day. So, if by any chance you are a non-French speaker and you want to know how is it like and to be better prepared, I hope this video can help you, even if a tiny bit. A quick mention of my background. I am a Chinese who grew up in China, and in my 20s I moved to Ireland. And then in last year I moved to France. So my mother tongue is Mandarin and my local dialect. And my second language, which was also my default language in work and life for more than 10 years. So it was English, but now it's changing to French. I think if you want to learn a new language, the most important and also would affect you long term is motivation. Motivation. You could also say as purpose, the purpose of you learn this language. I think this is the most important and also the very beginning level of all this. This is the base of you learn a new language. Yeah, it's easy to say when you start to learn a new language. At the beginning you're all excited and all, you're like, oh yeah, I'm speaking a new language. And then after 3 days, you're kind of like, oh, this is hard and I couldn't do this anymore. So this reason is something that can really like kick your ass when you want to quit. It can also be negative if that helps you. For example, like, oh, French people are so cocky. I'm wondering what's it like? What's their thing? Why are they so arrogant? What they're arrogant about? I'm gonna learn their secret. So there you go, you learn French. Or even worse, you had some bad experience in French or with French people, that you can use this negative experience to encourage you, changing this to something positive. So yeah, I think before you start, the motivation and the purpose of you learn this language is everything, is the base. And then we're gonna start with our practical steps. First of all, I would make a goal, which is a plan. For example, in 6 months, I want to be able to speak daily French. I want to be able to do grocery shopping. I want to be able to, survive without people's help. You have to set a date to it. Like I said, this is endless language. You have to set a goal little by little. Petit à petit, tu vas réussir. Second, make a strict schedule. When I say strict, I mean strict. The Asian level of strict. Just kidding. But like, you have to be serious. What I did was wake up at 7:30, and as soon as I wake up, I'll go to memorize the new vocabulary I learned the night before. So from 7:30 to 8 o'clock, it was my memorizing time. And from 8 to 8:30 was my breakfast time. During breakfast, you could listen to French podcast or radio. If you're already in France, it will be even easier. But if not, you can listen to something in French or just continue memorizing what you just looked, those vocabularies. If you don't have a chunk of time to learn French particularly, you can make your own schedule. I'm just telling you my schedule, how it was. So yeah, 8 o'clock, have breakfast until 8:30, and from 8:30 until 12 o'clock. Except I need to pee, and I would take 2 10-minute break. And that's it. And 8:30 to 10, I would practice my listening. I'll leave all the websites that I mentioned in the video below, and you guys can take a look after this video. So yeah, I would pick one article in TV Sank, pick my level, and then study this piece. Following the order I'll do is exercise, and after that, there are subtitles about this article. So I would replay again and follow the video and repeat the same French. Either it's a song or it's a conversation or it's a it's a clip of a news. I would repeat this part. I found this repeating and copying the tone of the native speaker helps me so much with the sound, the tone, the rhythm. Where do they stop? Get a sense of know this language, getting used to this language. If you're bored with articles, you can pick a song, but with the same method, listen and copy it and repeating it. It's better to practice my listening while the city is not wake up yet. So before 9 o'clock or before 9:30, it's the best time to practice your listening. Every 2 days, I will learn some grammar I have a book here. Through this book, I learned my grammar from this book. It's in English, so if you're anglophone, it's really useful for you. And I will pick few pages. This is the second part of morning I would do. You have to follow this plan. Nobody's watching you, especially if you're just like me. No one's watching you. You are on your own. You're your own student. You're your own teacher. This is time to see what you can do. Yeah, so this is the time you have to trust yourself. Also, you have to give yourself a shot. You have to watch yourself, be your own teacher. And the third is speak. This time doesn't have a time limit, okay? It has to be all time. For example, in the morning, you're memorizing your vocabulary, you're talking to yourself. And also, like me and my partner, we speak English for the last decade, but now we switched to French. So we have to speak French to each other, especially when you're trying to describe a thing or your day or you want to explain something clear. This is a chance that you got to practice this language. So yeah, speaking to yourself, to the family that you can. Also, what I did was, remember, my morning was sitting like academically studying the language. And afternoon, I would go to, for example, a language meetup event, or I go to a busy cafe, just take a coffee, relax my relax my body, but at the same time, listen to what people are saying. I'm not trying to, spying on people. I'm just letting my ears to know this is actually the real life French. I want my ears to get used to as soon as possible the real speed and the real French. And next part is read. Read a children's book and easy books. I know it's embarrassing, but you're learning this language. Personally, I like this part the most because I enjoy reading. And also, I feel like this part is some kind of encouragement because, hey, I'm reading in French. And also, those words that I learned aren't just words that happens in, textbooks. So yeah, these are the children books I read when I just moved to France. There are free books that in the community, people put their books they don't want and they put in the community corner. People can just grab it or exchange. Or you can go to second-hand bookstores and buying €3 for 5 books or €1 for 1 book. It's really useful for your reading and let your brain get used to this kind of structure. And next one is write. This part is not the most fun part for everyone, but this part is equally important. For me, I write diary, but of course in French. At the beginning, you're gonna write like a 6-year-old. But hey, that would improve little by little, trust me. When I write it, I try to use the words that I learned today. That helps me to re-practice them again. If you're doing the same, after 2 months, when you go back to the beginning or the beginning part of your diary, you can find that you can discover so much more errors and you can correct yourself. And not just that, you can see your improvement. You can see it's written how much you have improved in this language. If you really are not a fan of diary, you can also try to write something, describe a day or a thing in French. That helps you to use like passé composé, I was there, I did this when he comes in. So it got to use the grammar, I got to use the word as well, and also helps you structure sentence in your head. After all these positive suggestions, I'm gonna share with you guys of my difficulties and my frustration moments as well. Because if you're doing the same, these moments gonna happen in your life, in your study life. Even now, I feel like my head is not as sharp as before when I speak English and Chinese and my other languages. Most confusing, also frustrating and scary part was, you know, our structure, our brain is structured. It will pick the simplest word when you try to describe a thing. What happened to me was when I try to describe something, these French words start jumping in, wants to replace those English words. My head was affected. Like I said, if you didn't grow up in a multi-language environment, this thing is going to happen to you. But don't panic, it's experience. Once you master it, you can swap easily. Which now I'm still not fluently swapping, but it's much better than beginning. And second was, I feel like my languages was going backwards instead of moving forwards. You know, you start kind of feel like you don't know how to talk anymore. And also, sometimes when you learned so much, your progress is not as fast as you expected. From my experience, I found I have to learn this word and I've forgotten about it and relearn it again. And that way, I would never lose it. And other things like impatient, like I want to be able to speak faster, or I want to be able to, you know, communicate with people, with society faster, because every time when I go out there, there are always a new way of describing something that makes me frustrated, that makes me feel stupid. But after a year, now I can tell you, these are all normal, because this language, or any language, there's always a way that you don't know. So be patient, take your time, but progressing little by little is the, how would I say, healthy solution. And the last but not least, I want to share some of my personal tips to you, for you. See, that happens. Yeah, I already used up a few little notebook. This is my new vocabulary book. And also this is my schedule book. Every morning I'll take a look and know what am I doing. So that's that. And also use Post-it to stick on the things that in your home, in your room. If you're living alone, great. Stick the Post-it everywhere. That way, every time when you look at it, you're not actually learning it. You just start having this natural reaction. You know what I'm saying? And also, I am an OS girl. I like to use dictionary. Because I found when I use Google or something digital, they all look the same. I couldn't, okay, I can remember it, but it's not as efficient as paper. I like to use dictionary. So every time when I see a new word, I would check on dictionary. It's explained in French as well. That way, I remembered this new word in that language. Does it make any sense? And then of course, this is my diary book. This is my exercise book. Like I said, I am OS girl. I like to write down. But if digital suits you better, go ahead. There's no one way to learn a language. And there's always a best way for every single of us. Okay, that'll be today's video. I hope you guys can find some use out of it. And also answering one of the questions from last video, which is, why do I think I'm a double foreigner? It's because when I moved to France, that's the first time I live in another country as a foreigner. And that feeling really is strong because the cultural and everything is totally different. It feels like a different world. Then after I got used to that culture, I feel like I blend in. I feel like I'm one of them. Then I moved again. But then again, I'm not just that culture. I'm not Irish. I'm Chinese. So there's a Chinese me and the Irish me, and now accepting the new French me, which is very confusing, but it's also so exciting. Again, I love this experience. It's not easy, but I absolutely love it and enjoy it. Especially as an adult, I didn't grow up in the Western world. So yeah, that's my double foreigner feeling. I don't know if I explained clear. But I want to say it's not easy, but it's amazing. Donc, ça sera tout pour aujourd'hui. Si vous avez des questions, vous pourrez le mettre dans le comment box. Et voilà, à la prochaine. Ciao!